Hello. It's late. It's very late to be starting this vlog. And to be honest, this is not going to be a vlog. It's not going to be anything like the videos that you watched until now, on this channel at least. So, since I really didn't want to miss an upload tomorrow morning, but I've also not done anything except working manically and running around like a headless chicken doing laundry, which honestly you really don't want to see. What I need to do is wrap some presents. I've got 4 things to wrap. 2 are here, they are in nondescript boxes, and the other 2 don't have any boxes. So I'll hide them until they are sort of wrapped. But in the meantime, I thought, since nobody wants to watch me wrapping presents for half an hour, I'm going to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but then I've always been too lazy to do. So now I have the perfect excuse. I can sit down, have a glass of water, and I know some of you are really curious about the biscuits. This is what they look like once they're baked and rested, and they are delicious. So, do you want to see a nice shot of it being broken in half? Oh yeah, that's what they look like. I really hope it's focusing. But anyway, I'll be eating this biscuit while also there's a lot of butter and you can tell. But anyway, I'll be eating biscuits, I'll be wrapping presents, and I'll be doing the, what's it called? The Dark Academia book tag. On top of my head, I cannot remember who created it, but I'll make sure to include the due credits in the description box. So if you also want to take part, you want to film that for your channel or write it on your blog or whatever, honestly, I'll make sure to include that for reference and also for credit. But yeah, let's get started. Question number 1 is, what is your favorite academia or dark book and movie? So my favorite Dark Academia book, and the premise is I haven't read that many, because I think Dark Academia per se has sort of always existed. The term Dark Academia is a little bit more recent. But anyway, I think probably my favorite Dark Academia book is something that everybody, or a lot of people have probably mentioned, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read it earlier in the year. And I've actually reviewed it on this channel in my, I think, January to April reading wrap up or something on those lines. It was a beautiful book. Actually, I had the chance to talk about this book quite recently with a member of the book club, because she also read The Goldfinch, and we read together for book club the Little Friend. And I was telling her, especially because she's quite into thrillers and crime books, I'm like, this could combine 2 things that you really enjoy without you knowing. So yeah, that's A Secret History for me. If you're not aware of the storyline, if you don't know the plot, the book is set in an American college. I believe it's in Vermont. Or in an American college. The atmosphere is really nice. You know, it's the classic sort of Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, the sort of places where, you know, the buildings are really old, and atmosphere is quite important. But also even more important is the plot itself. It starts with you knowing that somebody has been killed, and you know, or at least you suspect who's killed them, but you don't know how that happened. This group of students that studies Latin and Greek and classics in general becomes very obsessed with the idea of Bacchanalia, which, if you studied Latin especially, but also Greek really, you know that Bacchus was the god of wine and parties and all that. In my opinion, they have a very unhealthy relationship with their main tutor. But if you haven't read it, I'm not going to say anything else because it could easily spoil it, and I really don't want to. But if you have read The Secret History and you have thoughts on it, without spoiling anything for anyone else, let me know what you thought of it, because I know some people didn't particularly like it. I read another book that was sort of similar. I feel like it could be easily a rip-off of The Secret History, which is called If We Were Villains by ML Rio, which I really did not, or at least, it's not that I didn't like it, but it was very much a rip-off of A Secret History. And then when it comes to my favourite Dark Academia film, I think I'm gonna have to go for Dead Poets Society, which is, to be honest, probably one of my favourite films of all time. It's just beautiful, it's so sweet, it's a great film, and it brings back a lot of memories of when I was in school, because we had this one teacher. I didn't like him, but he made us watch this during one of his classes for philosophy, and it was actually really, really beautiful as an experience. Question number 2 is, what dead poet would you like to have a drink with? Do we consider Homer a poet? I would say yes. So if we consider Homer a poet, I would definitely say Homer in a heartbeat. I would probably say Vladimir Mayakovsky, who is a Russian poet, and unfortunately I don't speak Russian, so I've never had the pleasure of reading him in language. But I've read a few of his poems, especially in the pre-revolution era, pre-war area, and they're very brutal, very raw, and I think it'd be interesting to meet one of those people that has sort of, you can definitely tell that there is a multitude of feelings being felt by one single individual. So I always find it quite interesting, especially when it comes to poets and writers, to see how they deal with the multitude of sentiments that they might have about a specific issue or about a specific point in time. I mean, going through Russian Revolution, wars and all that, it can't be easy for anyone, but especially when you have the sort of sensitivity that a poet has, it'd be really interesting to know. Also, I think probably a Russian would be great fun to have a drink with. One of my best friends, she's Russian, and whenever we're together we always get a little bit tipsy, and it's great. To be honest, she's probably, some of my fondest memories that involve a glass of wine or a gin and tonic are probably with my friend Lena. She's in St. Petersburg now. I miss you. I wonder if she watches this. Lena, do you watch this? There we go. I'm winning again. Cool, this is done. Parcel number 1 is done. What shall we put on top of it? I'd say this. So easy, and it's all recyclable. So thumbs up for that. 1 down, 3 more to go. Next question is, what is your favorite painting or sculpture? My favorite painting is known as The Garden of Heavenly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. And the reason why this is my favorite painting is because it's not just a painting, it's a triptych, I think it is. Basically it has 3 parts. And I would say, like, you can easily see that one is heaven, then there is earth, which is the largest part, and then there is hell. But it's so beautiful and detailed, and something completely different from what was being painted in those years. In those years you had a lot of paintings by Flemish artists that sort of were portraits, oil portraits, and they were usually used for like commercial purposes or for family purposes and all that. Whereas this painting specifically, it just immediately spoke to me the first time I saw it. It was beautiful when I saw it in, how do I wrap this? Oh, like this. So the first time I saw it, it was in a art history book when I was a kid. We studied art history as a compulsory subject in Italy when we are children. I don't know if they still do, or at least my curriculum did. And there was this beautiful painting, and I always wondered what it was about. And then when I went to Madrid, I had the opportunity to actually see it at the museum there, and it was fantastic. It was so beautiful. It was such a moving experience. I knew that I was going to see it, and I was just incredibly excited. It was larger than I expected, and it was so beautiful and detailed, and the colors were so vibrant. Honestly, I don't particularly know why it speaks to me so much, but it's one of those things, you know, when it's really hard to, like with books, I find it really hard to describe my favorite book. But when it comes to a piece of art, that is, like, if somebody asks me what's your favorite piece of art, that immediately comes to mind. So that's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. Obviously, I would have put it already on screen, but if I haven't, here it is again. The next question is, ooh, what is your favourite architectural marvel? Right, this one is harder because there is no specific winner for me. I was born and raised in Rome, which means I'm very used to seeing, okay, there we go, noisy bit aside. I'm quite used to seeing ancient architecture and all that. I'm not saying I'm desensitized to it, I'm just saying that I'm quite used to it. However, when I went to Greece, so a few years ago, I had a really bad breakup and I was going through a period of extreme anxiety. And I thought, what's the best thing you can do? Go on a holiday. So I booked myself a holiday as in me, myself and I on my own. And I went to Athens for a week and it was fantastic. It was beautiful, it was really regenerating in a way, really gave me a new perspective on a lot of things, but also was the opportunity for me to finally see some of the places that I had studied pretty much all my life, because I studied classics, not at university, in school. And I mean, all the temples, all the ancient Greek ruins, pretty unique. Another type of architecture that I really love is Gothic architecture, and when it comes to Gothic architecture I often think of castles, but I also think of churches, and a very similar experience to the Garden of Heavenly Delights. Something that I first saw in my art history book when I was a kid was the La Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, and so if you've never been there or if you don't know what it is, it's basically this church, but then there is this chapel that is completely done out of coloured stained glass and iron. So regardless of the time of day when you go there, as long as there is light, you're going to be inundated by these beautiful colours that come from the glasswork, and it's so special to be there. I remember last time I went to Paris, which wasn't the first time for me, but it was the first time I took my boyfriend there. We went there and he was like, "Wow, we're seeing a church. I mean, there's plenty of churches. We haven't gone inside Notre Dame because the line was so long. Why are we going here?" I'm like, just wait for it. Just wait for it. And then we went. It was actually really beautiful and he enjoyed it. So I'm glad I took him there. Right, can you even tell it's a few hours later and I've already finished wrapping all the presents? It's been, when I say it's been a mad day, I think that's a euphemism. You know those days when you think it's just going to be a normal day and then stuff gets thrown at you from all sides and you're like, I'm juggling 17 things at a time, please give me time to breathe. But anyway, I can assure you it's been so mad that the biscuit, you remember the biscuit that I baked a few hours ago? That hasn't been touched. But yeah, moving on. Shall I continue doing this thing? So at least we got some content. What is it? Question 5. What Shakespeare play would you want to be the lead in? Definitely, I would love to be Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream. I think it's one of those interesting characters that has so many different aspects to the same personality. It's a little bit naughty, but it's also a little bit sweet. Definitely like that. How many languages do you speak and which language would you most like to learn? Right, so I am fluent in Italian, English and Spanish. I also speak German, I understand Dutch, I understand French, although I'm now currently studying to be able to properly speak French. What else? I studied Latin, so I'm able to translate Latin, and I can read and understand Brazilian Portuguese, although my speaking of that is not that great. What language would you like? I think I would really love to learn Russian, not to be one of those people that says, oh, so I can read Dostoevsky in a regional language. I mean, that would be nice, great, but I think with regards to my interests, I'm really interested in war, defense, politics and all that. I can definitely see the increasingly important role that Russia plays in those areas, and I think it would be really beneficial for my career as well. That being said, with the coronavirus, there is no chance of me going to class anytime soon. So for now I'll focus on French. But yeah, so I think Italian, English, Spanish, German, Dutch, French, Brazilian Portuguese, Latin, that's 8, but I'm only fluent in 3. The other ones is more like I understand and I can read them. What else? What's your favorite quote? I don't know. I actually have a little book of quotes somewhere there. This is the little book of quotes, and I've had it for years, like since the early 2010s. This one I love. This one is from Martha Geller, and she's one of the first proper female journalists that were sent to the front line. She is the one and only female journalist who was able to report on D-Day as the landing crafts arrived on the shores of Normandy. But yeah, so this quote is from, I think it's from Travels with Myself and Another, which is about her travels across the world, reporting and also living while being in a relationship with Ernest Hemingway, who was her husband for less than 5 years, I believe. But anyway, the quote is, "If you can't learn from experience, at least you can use it." Yeah, it really speaks to me. It speaks to me as a journalist, it speaks to me as a woman, and it speaks to me as somebody who is not perfect, like the majority of us. Which fictional character's death is my ideal way to go? Oh, this one is easy. This one is going to be either Frodo or Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. They sort of reach that point in which they no longer wish to live an earthly life, so they sort of go on the ship with the elves to live forever, but also that means dying in real life. So that would definitely be my way to go. It seems really peaceful, it seems really calm, it's with the elves, I like the elves, that sounds good to me. Right, question 9 is, what university or college would you most like to attend? Now, I have gone to university, I've done a Bachelor of Science, then I've done a Master's of Arts, and then I've done a MicroMaster in International Law. For my undergrad, I went to university in Rotterdam, which is not an old university, but it's really great, and I'm forever proud to have been a student there. Then for my Masters in International Journalism, I came here to London, and that's where I stayed, and I went to City University London, which if you look at it on picture, then it has some really new parts, but it has some really old parts, and I studied in the old part in Northampton Square, because that's where the journalism department is, and I really enjoyed it, and it looks really nice. And then for my MicroMaster, I did that online, but the university is Université Catholique de Leuven in Belgium. And that's also really nice. But I think this question wants the answer, like, would you like to go to Cambridge or Oxford and so on? My brother went to Oxford and I really liked the campus and all that, but I've never been one of those people that has the necessity to go to a specific university, with the exceptions of the ones that I went to, just because they were really relevant for my field, and I'm glad to have got that kind of education. What is your murder weapon, murder method of choice? Easy, poison. I don't want to get blood on me, I want to leave as little trace as possible. Poison sounds great. What mythology would you most like to be part of? I studied Greek mythology and Latin mythology throughout my life, and I find that quite interesting, but also very human, as in the gods are gods, but at the same time they sort of embody humans and have very similar characteristics. So that would be sort of the safe choice, but I think if I were to be a little bit more creative, I would probably say something like Nordic mythology. I visited Scandinavia a few times, and all those countries have beautiful mythology and culture that is very much linked to, earth, nature, the elements, and I think that would be a really nice way to sort of reconnect also to your natural self. If you had to do a PhD, what would you choose to do it on? Right, this is actually something I thought about. It would probably be something that has to do with the arts, but at the same time that can combine science and sort of statistics in it. So I've thought about doing a PhD, and I was potentially considering that before entering my full-time career a few years ago. I think the two options for me would be comparative literature, just to be able to compare some specific subjects, and I do have a specific subject in mind, which I will not share in case you're gonna steal my idea. The other option is potentially comparative media and political communication, so sort of comparing, so there's still that sort of scientific element to that, but with focus on political speeches. Which fictional character would you die for? I wouldn't die for anyone. Not for a fictional character, especially. Let me think. I think... Okay, my boyfriend is in the room, so I'm not going to say the actual character that I immediately thought of, because otherwise I'm going to spoil a book that he's currently reading. But the other one that I can think of is probably... what's her name? Emma in One Day by David Nichols, which is an incredible book, but at the same time the ending is so sad. It also is really perfect, but it is sad. Is that it? Yeah, that's the end of the Dark Academia tag by blank. I'll put it down here. But yeah, this video was all over the place. As I said, it's been one of those days where I barely had time to use the toilet just because it was so crazy busy, but you know, we managed to wrap some presents and work, and I'm gonna eat this biscuit. So thank you very much for watching. I promise next one is going to be better. It's going to be on Sunday, and I do work on Sunday, but I'm going to hopefully be doing something nice in the meantime. So thank you very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, or if you want to give me a little bit of encouragement, because on days like this I really need it, or a thumbs down if you really hated it. It's okay. Thank you. Bye.